Did you guys see what Trent Elliott did in the last race?
Oh, my.
Did you see the way that car was working? We know how good Bobby Hogue is. We know how good Darren Koffel is. We've seen Trent Elliott step his game up to a whole different level lately. We've seen the 6 car of Bob D's getting faster. They've worked some of the bugs out. That car's changed a lot. That is a fast car. It's just getting the setup right for the track conditions. And that's the thing about Southern Oregon Speedway. We've seen every type of track condition. You don't know what you're going to get when you show up. This is what I like about this facility is you don't know if it's going to be locked down, hammered down fast, or if it's going to be dry and slick.
Well, what's the other thing is you don't even know if they're going to water between the, before the feature. So it's in the air.
Yeah.
So if they water, what's it going to do? If
Track
they don't water,
prep and Mike McCann have kept these guys guessing, and some guys have hit it. Some guys end up searching. This is going to be a very unique event that I'll tell you right now, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this because this is a big race in the Pacific Northwest. Everybody's talking about the late model ranks, about how this division is not flourishing like it once was. Why is that? You've got tracks competing for everybody now. Okay? We used to have tracks that, their feature division was sprint cars. This track had feature division of late models. This track had a feature division of something else. Now everybody's competing for all the cars. Okay? This is $4,000 to win, $2,000 for second, $1,000 for third. If you don't show up at this race and you have a late model, you have no right to bitch about what's going on with the late models and why it's not thriving.
Right.
You want this class to get back to where it used to be? Then you need to support late model racing. That means supporting the big shows. That means coming out and giving these fans a show.
Yep.
But if you're one of those guys that are going to say, oh, I know it's a big show, but I don't like the tire rule, or I don't like this, or I don't like that, then just pump the brakes. Stop it right there. Though this is not your typical format, this is going to be an exciting format because we're not using qualifying, okay, and taking the top 2 from your heats, locking them into a scramble, and turning those guys loose to find out who's going to land on the front row. Every driver, as a driver, I understand, we've talked about this a million times, wants to land on the front row of the race. I'm against that. I'm not a big fan of that, but as a driver, I understand why, okay? You're going to be locked in, the top 2 from the heat races into the show, into the scramble. That scramble, whether you finish first or 8th, is where you're going to start in the feature. Okay? We're going to take the best of the best, or whoever thinks that they're in that elite group and shows up, and we're going to put them out there to find out, okay, listen, this is what it's going to be. Everybody's on a level playing ground because this is not typical rules. This isn't even typical rules for Southern Oregon Speedway. Even the local guys are kind of like, okay, caught off guard a little bit. Fantastic. We're putting y'all on everybody's going on a level here. Show up and show us what you got.
I'm excited.
Show up and show us what you got. Everybody can talk. Everybody can talk about rules. Everybody can talk about whatever you like, but just show up. Here's your baseline. Look at the Southern Oregon Speedway rules. Look at the special rules for this event. Show up. Do your thing. I want to know who's going to walk out there with $4,000. And I think you guys were all smart when I said, if I gave you $1,000, who are you going to bet on? Nobody said anything.
Nope.
It's exactly what I would have done. Do you bet on Bobby Hogue? Do you bet on Joey Tanner if he shows up? If he shows up. Do you bet on Rob Maya if he shows up? Or Trent Elliott or Darren Koffel or Nathan Augustine or any other locals down there that are super fast? Who do you bet on? You don't know. The locals definitely have the advantage. They've been there all year. They know the track. Okay. The out-of-towners. And we're going to have a conversation here because I've been debating on whether I'm going to do this or not. I'm shooting from the hip. Okay. The out-of-towners are not always I want to say the word welcome, but accepted. Because nobody wants to be that local guy that has been the fast guy, and then somebody like Bobby Hogue shows up twice a year and wins both times. Or maybe Rob Maya shows up once and takes home $4,000. Or Joey Tanner shows up, because we're only going to see him one time. We know that. If he shows up. It'll be the only time he shows up. Out-of-towners winning isn't always the most popular thing.
No.
Okay?
Not at home track.
Not at all. And I get it. I understand it. I mean, who wouldn't feel that way, right? I mean, truly. Who wouldn't feel that way? That leads me to a discussion. I was going to have a special guest come in, but I'm gonna do this just with the Moxie crew, okay?
All right.
None of you guys have been prepped for this. I haven't given you guys any information on this because I didn't know exactly how I wanted to approach this deal.
This is how it goes every time we have these conversations.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
But this is how you get honesty, too.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are coming in with no bias, you don't even know what I'm going to talk about.
Nope.
Okay? But that's how I get your honest opinions.
You don't have time to think
There's
about
no
it
right.
for.
There's no scripts.
Yeah.
Right.
This is all
Yeah.
shoot from the
And
hip.
that's why I do that like this on this show. Okay, that's why I do this on the show. I've done it where, okay, here's what we're going to do from 6 o'clock to 6:15. Everybody knows. I don't think you get true honesty when everybody knows exactly what you're going to talk about 3 or 4 days ahead of time, and they know what they're going to say.
Well, I know your mind, too. It goes a million miles an hour. You're
Yeah.
thinking about 10 million different things at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pick out the
Unfortunately.
top 5 and you talk about it on the show.
Right.
All right, let's hear
Right.
it.
Exactly.
Sometimes that's how it goes down. So I'm gonna fill you guys in. Okay, this all spurred from a conversation I had through Messenger, Facebook Messenger. Okay, and I thought it was a very interesting conversation. Okay, and I've been thinking about this. Listen to me when I say this for 2 weeks.
Wow.
2 weeks. This has been on my mind. I've been wanting to talk about it. So we're going to. Okay. We're going to get to Southern Oregon Speedway results from last week, but I want to have put this and I don't normally do this. Normally it's the other way around. Results up front, discussion on the back end. We're going to switch that up tonight because this has been really, really on me. Okay. I'm not saying any names, but in this conversation, the individual I was talking with said, when we were talking about a racetrack, okay, asking how things are going, da-da-da-da-da-da. And that individual said to me, it's not the same. It doesn't feel like hometown family racing anymore. I got to thinking about that. And I said, okay, where I'm at, that's true. Where any other racer in the country is right now, that statement is also true. Let me qualify that. Let me tell you why I say that. We are at a time in the sport now. There has been so much change over the last 10 years, over the last 5 years. That hometown, good old boy approach to racing is gone. It's gone. I'm telling you that right now. It's gone. For the most part, anywhere you go in the country, for the most part, that is gone. The sport has become so advanced, even at the grassroots level of dirt track racing. The sport is so advanced. That statement that person said to me is true. The good old boy, hometown, family feel of racing is gone. I can't change, and none of us here can change what the feel is in the pit area. Gary, you're more in the pit area than any of us when we go to the tracks. You have a better feel of what's going on in the pit area, but we can't change or influence any of that. No. That is what's going on at the track amongst the teams. Whatever's going on in the pit area is amongst the teams. Okay? But we're talking about the sport of racing. No longer having a hometown, good old boy, family feel. Family feel, you can have that in the pit area if you create that. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's on whoever's in the pit area. No control over that. Family feel in the stands. I see a lot of that.
Yeah.
I might have as media. I don't think we have really anything that can influence that one way or the other. Maybe a little bit one way or the other, but the advancements we've had in this sport of dirt track racing are so far beyond that anymore. It's not going to go back.
It can't.
No.
It's evolution.
Well, you got to figure out where it started
It's-
back when.
It's economics.
I used to go to the races in Kitley Racetrack in Indianapolis. Guys that come in the car lot, my dad had a car lot, they'd buy an old car, they bring it out there, they're racing.
Right.
You know, to me,
Take it
that
home,
was
put tape on the
hometown.
headlights, put a number on the door.
But then safety came in, you start doing safety problems, and now, as far as street stock, they're up to the level now. They're not street stocks.
Street stocks are.
They're not street stock. Street stock should be something you drive on the street, you take it to the track.
Street stocks used to be what you would
They're
take.
high-performance vehicles now.
They truly are. Street stocks are doing now what late models were doing in the 80s on G60s.
Yep.
Right? We're taking a tire that's half as wide on cars that weigh 1,000 pounds more, and they're turning the same lap times as late models did in the late 80s, if not faster. Okay? Why? Let me ask you, why are they doing that?
There's got to be money in there somewhere.
Thank you. Money entered the sport. It's always been an expensive sport, but we're at a level now where guys are spending so much money to win. It's not good old boy stuff anymore. Top teams don't build a car out of their garage. I say that from the late model ranks. Street stocks, yes. Street stocks, what street stocks are today, they take a subframe, they build a roll cage. They're building their cars. Okay, I'll give those levels. Okay. You look at sport mods. Guys are spending on sport mods now what late models used to cost. You look at modifieds, and they're almost as much as late models are anymore for rollers. Then you look at late models, and when these guys are done, top teams, I'm talking top teams, are spending $70,000 to $80,000 on a car.
There's not a whole lot of hometown that who can afford that.
You're racing for $1,000 to win, and you're spending 70 grand. Let's talk. Some guys are spending 70 grand. I know some guys that are winning a lot of races don't have that much money in their car. Not everybody, but that's what I'm saying has changed the sport. Dave said it. Money.
This is why you don't see accountants sponsoring the race cars, I think.
Dave, you've been around racing a long time. Gary, you've been a racer a long time. You ran back at the old Eugene Speedway. You've been around the sport a long time. Nina's been out at Southern Oregon Speedway when she was a kid. Sandy's dad raced. We've all got roots in racing. Do you remember the days when guys would go to an auto parts store and buy a set of shocks and put them on their car?
Yep.
Sure did.
You can buy 20 sets of shocks for what they put on one set of late models now. We're talking $6,000, $7,000 for a set of shocks.
And I watch those shoot off all night long.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking.
So I should be collecting them, is what you're saying.
Well, here, Roy Bain. Thank you, Roy. Roy's validating what I'm saying. Victory and Skyrocket GRT are now building street stock and hobby stocks. These are manufactured race cars.
Manufactured street stock, hobby stocks. Yes.
And why does a shock absorber cost that much money?
Because they know they're going to spend the money to pay for the technology to run
it's
up
like
front.
my turbos on my truck. I found out I used to spend $1,200 on a turbo. It's $6,000 for a turbo now for my truck.
And you're going to buy it.
What?
You're going to buy it
and
because
you
buy
have
it,
to.
or
You have to.
I don't drive
I don't even
that
wanna
truck
talk about how
anymore.
fancy
Right.
My truck is expensive.
So
Look at go-karts, 1960s versus now.
1960s, you could take your
back then
go-kart.
you put a lawnmower engine, you went out there and you run around.
You have $50 in a top cart.
Now you're
Yep.
$2,000 or $3,000
Yeah, it
for
was a good time.
just a fun cart.
We've got guys running cage
Well.
carts that are spending 20 grand.
Yeah, I know,
Doesn't that
but I'm
make it a
just
hobby
just
then?
for
That's a
myself.
go-kart. That's a go-kart. A
Just for what we're doing
$20,000
for
go-kart,
entertainment.
we're talking about top teams, factory teams running $20,000 go-karts to develop these drivers. Then they're jumping in all these, like Roy Bain says right here, Victory, Skyrocket, and GRT are now building street stocks and hobby stocks. This is, right there qualifies everything I'm saying. Street stocks and hobby stocks are as grassroots as you get when it comes to stock car racing on dirt, and there are 3 manufacturers